What's up, everybody?
And go.
Welcome to the Shop Podcast.
I'm
excited to have you.
This looks like I have a microphone beard. Like a long Fu Manchu microphone. Like that.
This setup is more distracting for you than the previous setup.
That's true. It's very true. It's more convenient for setup.
It is.
But there's more things that I can touch and move and that kind of stuff. And I can make my camera do this. Does that feel good?
I can hear it wobbling.
It's not a very quiet wobble. It's a loud wobble.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
Like loud wobbles. All right, I'm gonna put this cord behind here. Yeah,
you can do that without announcing it. I couldn't even see the cord.
No, but people got to know why I'm making the motions that I'm making.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Hey, I'm not wearing pants today either, so I'm wearing shorts. So
this is a big day for you.
Great day.
It's a big day. It's the warmest day of the year so far.
It is. It's supposed to be like 73 today.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm wearing shorts today.
It's finally a day that makes sense for you to wear shorts.
Yeah, it was a smidge chilly this morning, but
did you wear shorts on the bus?
it's worth it. Oh yeah, for sure.
It was.
What am I supposed to do? Like change into them?
You change out of them into pants for the podcast every week.
Yeah, but that was just for people's safety. That wasn't for.
It was like 50 degrees this morning.
Yeah, that was fine.
It's ridiculous.
I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. Grady, if you're listening to this, well done yesterday.
Amen.
Grady, coming out of his shell.
Yeah, getting up there.
Yeah. Like a clam.
Huh?
Or a oyster. What comes out of shells?
Macaroni, cheese, Velveeta, specifically.
It's ridiculous.
Grady's like had this secret talent for, I don't know, all of his life.
Yep.
And then now it is no longer a secret.
Yeah.
It's cat's out of the bag.
Yep. I wonder where that phrase comes from. I was reading a book last night and it talked about like different phrases that came from the sailing world. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know they came from that world. And so now whenever I hear a phrase, I guess I'm like, I wonder where that came from.
Where cat's out of the bag. I feel like if you put a cat in a bag, they're going to want to get out pretty badly.
Don't worry, I'm looking it up.
If you open up the bag, it's just going to jump out of there with a quickness.
The phrase "let the cat out of the bag" originated in medieval times as a result of livestock fraud. Refers to dishonest merchant would swap a cat for a pig in a sack, and the buyer wouldn't realize until they got home.
And then the cat was out of the bag.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when they started eating cats instead of pigs.
Yeah.
Like, well, we got this cat now. Got to eat it. It's not as meaty as a pig.
And it's hard to make cat bacon.
It is, but it's a leaner cut than cat bacon is. Not as tasty, but it's good for you, like tofu.
It's
disgusting, but it's supposed to be good for you.
Cat bacon.
Yeah.
Oh. I heard a story. He may listen to this podcast. That ate a bobcat, and that seems gross as well. It seems too close. I don't know if I should call them out by name.
Oh, okay.
They may listen to the podcast.
Oh, okay. You can tell me later.
Listeners of the podcast know this person.
Yeah, certain people.
Yeah, and he ate a bobcat, and that's too close to a house cat.
I don't know. I'd give it a go.
Yeah. I would know you would.
Yeah.
You eat exotic things.
I would. I had some ostrich jerky once. Also had some kangaroo jerky once. I think it was the ostrich one that was really gross. But didn't I buy you some and you didn't eat it? Or did you try it?
There's a good chance that happened. Yeah.
This is early in our relationship, and the expression of my friendship was to buy you exotic jerky, and you're like, "No, this is not what friends do." So we were at an impasse at that point.
Impasse.
But now we're sponsored by Fresca. So
that's right. I want to give a huge shout out. Joel introduced Isaac to Fresca, and now Isaac stocks our fridge, or Nick occasionally, with Fresca. It's delicious.
Yeah, it is not bad, and it's like a diet drink, isn't it?
It has no calories.
Yeah, that's a diet.
It's just like sparkling water with some flavor in it.
Yeah, I used to drink Fresca when I was a kid.
Today on the podcast, we're discussing, now that we've spent 6 minutes in silliness,
yeah,
we're going to discuss.
We have expectations to meet on this podcast.
Yeah. The question is, do those expectations on the podcast align with the expectations of the kingdom of God?
Yes, they do.
I was so confident.
After today's podcast, we may disagree with that.
Yeah.
We may change our minds.
Yeah. And I really don't know which direction this is going. We've gone through the Sermon on the Mount, and the beginning in the shop rushed through the Beatitudes. We hit all 8 Beatitudes in 1 week.
Yeah.
But now Jason is discussing the Beatitudes with his life group, and you were on "Blessed are those that mourn" yesterday, correct?
Yes.
It may not be your yesterday, but it's our yesterday.
Yeah, our yesterday is Monday, if people are wondering.
Yeah.
So yesterday, which would be Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
that happened. Yeah, we're on Beatitude number 2. And,
Beatitude.
Beatitude. I like that. And so I guess kind of what led us to this conversation is I was studying through it to prepare for Sunday, and like I started texting Taryn. And I was like, "Hey, did you read this chapter about?" Because we were working off the that book, Studies on the Sermon on the Mount from what's his name, Lloyd.
Yeah,
it's
Dr.
Yep.
Dr. Lloyd Jones. Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Hey, did you read this? Because I don't. This is a little bit wild what he's saying." And of course, Tanner's reply was, "Of course, I read it. That's what I preached on." So my bad. That's how a lot of our conversations go. like I already told you this.
He sent me a quote from the book, and he was like, "Hey, did you read this?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure I said that quote in the sermon."
Well, it sounded familiar, so.
But you sent it to me as though you disagreed with it, which is fun.
Yeah, I think I did.
Well, you disagreed
Kinda,
with your
sorta.
interpretation of what he was saying.
Yeah. I thought he was saying something in particular, and just to kind of jump to the point, from what I understood in that particular chapter on "Blessed are those who mourn," was the writer was implying, I thought, that Jesus never laughed. Like his life was completely serious. So he makes the comment that the Bible only records Jesus weeping or crying, and it records him being angry. So to me, it kind of painted this picture of like Jesus was only as like a sad, angry guy. And I don't agree with that. But upon going back and reading it again, I don't think that's necessarily what he was trying to imply. He's probably a little more leaning towards that direction than I am, but I don't think that's what he was trying to imply. It was more of a balance between that.
Yeah,
and we'll kind of dig into that maybe a little bit today when we talk about this. But
yeah, it was from what I remember, was his statement was there's no record of Jesus laughing.
Yeah.
but we do have record of him mourning, record of him being angry. Like we have in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there's stories of Jesus crying, but there are no stories of Jesus laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that he didn't laugh. We just don't have the stories.
Right. And I think as I began to understand that beatitude better, then that made more sense to me. And not that Jesus never laughed, because I don't believe that. I mean, the Bible talks about the benefits of laughter and those kind of things. So I don't, Jesus was a man just like, I mean, he was fully human. So I would expect him to have laughed at some point in his life. But it just, through the understanding of that, beatitude is like understanding the brevity of sin and the seriousness of it and its effect on humanity. There's not a lot of cause for laughter.
Yeah.
I guess the more you understand the seriousness of it. And I think that's really probably more what the author was leaning towards.
Yeah.
It was like when Jesus came to earth, he fully understood his mission and what his purpose as the ultimate sacrifice would be and why he had to make that sacrifice. And so, if the goal in the writing of the Gospels was to understand Jesus better, and his mission, his purpose in coming to earth, probably weeping and anger would do more for that than laughter, I guess. It's kind of where I landed on it.
Yeah.
Not that he never laughed, but on a scale of importance, those other things probably are higher up there.
Yeah. I think what I texted you was the gospel writers can write down anything. Obviously we believe that the Spirit influenced every word that they wrote, or inspired every word that they wrote. But they're writing their story of Jesus. Yeah. And they can write down anything that they want, technically, somewhat. And in their story, it wasn't laughter that stood out. It was the mourning that stood out. It was the weeping that stood out. That they're like, hey, we've got to include this detail.
I would think that those were the more impactful moments.
Yeah, but there are certain people that we would include their laughter when describing them. You know what I mean? There's probably certain people in our lives that, like, if they're like, hey, what is Jason like? I was like, oh, he's so fun. He's hilarious. He's fun to be around. Prankster. There's people that we know that we would include that detail, but that detail's not included when talking about Christ.
Yeah, and it's and I almost like because I'm not probably known for my seriousness, probably most of the time.
That's a fair statement.
So
hot takes from Jason.
Yeah. So that's and there's probably all kinds of reasons for that, but either way, just like reading that, I was like, almost like I don't know if I'd say convicted, but I was just kind of like,
I was very that chapter. I was very convicted.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was like, should I not be like? Should I be more serious? I guess is what kind of my thought was. It's like if is the way I kind of am not right and or not like the best to be. And so, man, that thought crossed my mind, and I'm still chewing on that a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I still think it's there's a balance,
Yeah.
and I think that Christians should. I don't think Christians should present themselves as like gloomy and sad all the time, but I don't think that's what that means. I don't think that's what it's telling us. It's like that, both extremes of that, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can look at it and be like, oh, well, blessed are those who mourn. Like if you're supposed to be around all the time, around looking sad and looking, everything's just gloom and doom and that kind of thing. But then if you try to overcompensate for that, then you're like, oh, well, if you're really a Christian, then you got to be like, have a smile on your face all the time, and you have to be joyful and, whatever. And I don't think it's either of those.
Yeah. The verse came to my mind thinking of Christ, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and now there's laid up for him a throne of righteousness, crown of righteousness. Well, I forgot what it says. And so it says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. So it's something he was glad to do, joyful to do.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to believe he smiled through the nails.
Oh,
that makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And I would definitely, I'd definitely say there's times, like personally, when I should be more serious. And that's something I had to kind of manage, I guess. But
yeah, I think that's the area that I was convicted in when reading that chapter, is how much of my life is silly. Not how much do I laugh, but how much of my life is just silly. That I don't always take life serious enough, or as serious as I should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Like thinking through like the entertainment, I guess, like that. Yeah. I spend so much of my life watching shows and YouTube and scrolling through social media, and most of it is just to laugh. Like that's the reason why I scroll through that stuff, is hoping to find something funny or entertaining. And while I'm doing that, the people are lost and dying and going to hell. And so I'm not saying that you're never allowed to do anything but share the gospel. I don't think that's like you're never allowed to have fun. I'm not saying that. But I probably have an unhealthy amount of silliness in my life.
Yeah, no, I can understand that that perspective, and I think it's really just like anything else too. Like if you take that too far, take it to the extreme, and that's kind of just like any other thing that may not necessarily be a sin in and of itself.
Yeah,
if that's what you go to for release, or like if you're stressed and you need to kind of you're looking for some sort of peace or some sort of comfort, and that's your go-to, is like just silly dumb things, which I'm the same. Like if I've had a stressful day, like it feels good to just like scroll through and watch stupid videos, and not have to think, like kind of that like vegging out kind of approach. Like I don't have to think about anything or really like process anything. I just like just zone out or whatever. And I think if that becomes your norm and that becomes your go-to in those times, then you've made it like any other kind of addiction or whatever, when you should be going to prayer or digging in the scripture or so forth. So,
and I do think there's a healthy amount of that we can have in our lives. That's good.
Yeah.
Like a time to escape, and just have fun. Like I think that's probably good. Like I've even had seminary teachers and pastors that I look up to that talk about like, at the end of my day, I give myself an hour or 30 minutes to watch a TV show, and I don't have to think about work, don't have to think about responsibility, just relax for a second.
Yeah, decompress a little bit.
Yep.
So,
But But if you take that too far, then you, yeah. So let's get back mourning, mourning.
Yeah, it's also the morning right now, but still,
It is.
So it's double morning.
It's morning where we are. I don't know if it's morning where you are.
Yeah,
Depends on what time zone you're in.
Scandinavia, then it may not be.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you a general area where Scandinavia was on a map.
I mean, it's like way over there, up towards the top, I think.
I probably would have said that.
Yeah,
I may get roasted. I'd put it near Russia.
I think it's north of that, but I could be wrong.
I didn't know there was anything north of Russia. The North Pole is above Russia.
I don't think there's a lot of things north of Russia. I think I could be wrong.
We're probably it's probably South America somewhere.
Yeah.
Anywho, what were we saying? All right, so back to morning. Welcome back, everybody. So, two places that I can remember where Jesus mourns in Scripture. One is at the death of Lazarus, which it's debated why he cries. Weeps. Does he weep because Lazarus is dead? Does he weep because of unbelief or a lack of faith? And then the other one, the other one, for sure we can nail it down because Jesus sees the unbelief of Jerusalem and begins to weep because they're like sheep without a shepherd. And I think that's blessed are those who mourn. I think that's it, that we need to be broken over the brokenness all around us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the two kind of aspects of that we talked about yesterday was there's really kind of an introspective mourning, I guess, and for others, like initially, which kind of leads out of the first beatitude to be poor in spirit. There has to be this like understanding of the seriousness of sin, and this understanding of the seriousness of your own sin, which leads you to repentance and ultimately comfort, which is what the verse says as well. They'll be comforted, those that mourn.
Yep.
And so there's kind of that aspect of it. As far as internally and being convicted and led towards repentance and salvation. But after that, then being like legitimately upset about sin, like it bothers you, should lead you to want to share the solution to that with others. And it should, one of the things we kind of talked about when we were talking about doing this podcast is maybe talking about a sense of urgency. And I think it really kind of leads into that too. Like, if you understand the seriousness of sin, and the cost that was, the price that was paid for it, then there is a sense of urgency and a sense of importance that we can sometimes overlook if we're kind of not in that that mindset. Yeah, I remember David Platt doing a talk at an event called "The Urgency of Eternity." They're like we feel like we have so much time to share the gospel, to talk to our neighbors, to talk to our family members, to talk to our friends about sinful habits and sinful lifestyle that they're living. But then David flips it and he says, no, we're talking about eternity, and people's eternity could begin at any moment. Right.
And so we need to live with a sense of urgency. That there's a lost and dying world. There's people who've never heard the gospel, people who've never heard about Jesus Christ, never even heard the name of Jesus, that need to hear the gospel, and to sit around being silly seems like we don't believe that.
Yeah. It's like you see it makes me think of like when I know, like, if anybody out there is a construction worker, and
You're about to make fun of the highway department.
I am. There's some, if anybody's out, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like you
Roast them.
You just like you drive by and see there's like one guy like getting it, like he is working and just sweating and just like he is just getting it all done, and there's like 10 guys standing in a circle looking on their phone or doing nothing. And well, I understand, there's probably a reason for that. They can only do certain things and they can't be in certain areas and whatever. I get all that, but I'm just that perception is like, what are you doing standing around? There's work to be done. And I think that's really the kind of thought process behind that too. I'm taking this time to do silly, meaningless stuff that really has no kingdom benefit.
Right.
When I should have a better understanding that look, there's a lot of work to be done, and there's no time for dilly dallying.
Yeah. In the book of Acts chapter 1, Jesus ascends into heaven. Acts chapter 1, verse 9. After he said this, he was taken up as they were watching, and a cloud took him out of their sight. And while he was going, they being the apostles, were gazing into heaven. And suddenly 2 men in white clothes stood by them and said, "Men of Galilee, why are you just standing here looking up? This is the same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven. He's going to come again in the same way that you just saw him go." And so I think this may be speaking into that. Like the angels show up and like, what are you doing? He just told you to go and be witnesses to the ends of the earth. And now you're just going to stand here looking into the heavens. There's work to be done.
That means now.
Yeah. Like
your kid, you're just like, I ask you to do something. What are you doing? Oh, well, I'm gonna get there.
I'll get it. I'll get it done. I was like, no, okay, well, I mean now.
Yeah.
And to imagine the apostles in this moment. They've been with Jesus for the last 3-ish years. And Jesus didn't tell them, "Hey, I'm going to leave and I'll be back in over 2,000 years." He just, "I'll be back." And so they're probably like, let's see.
Yeah.
Like, just stand there waiting.
I'll be back here in just a minute.
Yeah. Everybody, hold on.
A couple things to do real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah. And the angels are like, "Hey." Yeah. I wonder how long it took for the angels to show up. How long did they stare into the skies?
It's an interesting thing to ponder. I feel like it wasn't that long.
But, it's like the next sentence in Acts, but it could have been like, what if they're there for like 10, 15 minutes? Just waiting.
Just like birds are chirping. Crickets. You're just like,
God's like, Gabriel, get down there.
Go tell him. I like
that. And with that, I feel like the Lord has probably had similar thoughts about me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, what's he doing? What's he doing? Just sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I for sure he's had those thoughts about me.
And the other thought I had on this idea of mourning is Jesus mourns over brokenness, and so I think we should mourn over brokenness, whether it's our own or somebody else's. And probably my normal mindset is just to be entertained by brokenness.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, like the movies. Yeah, the movies I watch and things I listen to are filled with brokenness, and I'm like, oh yeah. That has a good beat. That has a good rhythm. That has a good story. Like all the popular movies, especially, no offense, it's just a podcast of roasting things. Yeah. So many like rom-coms. You root for them to leave their spouse.
Yeah.
Like you're like watching it like, oh yeah, she needs to leave that loser, or he needs to leave that loser. It's like, no, that's brokenness.
Yeah,
and we're entertained.
Bring her flowers every day.
we're watching it and either laughing at sin, entertained by sin, entertained by the same sins that Jesus died for, laughing at the same sins that Jesus died for. And I think the more God honoring emotion is mourning over brokenness.
Yeah, yeah. And I one of the aspects that we talked about too. I mean, we have, like when I hear somebody say mourning, just like in normal, it makes me think of like a funeral, or we're upset because we lost someone, or somebody died, and in a sense that's the same, I think. But not in the physical sense, but in a spiritual sense. I mean, we have to understand that we're dealing with dead people.
Yeah.
And so,
that's good.
In that sense, we should be mourning in the same way, but also kind of parallels too. Like we're not supposed to mourn. And I know it's not exactly the same context, but we're not supposed to mourn as those who don't have hope. But I think even understanding that statement, we don't, when we mourn for the lost, we understand that we have a hope that we can share with them. And so it's a proper way to mourn, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But but yeah, spiritual, that spiritual mourning, and really understanding that we're trying to point dead people to the one who can give them life.
Right. It's good. It's good. I'm just scrolling through verses with mourning in them. Curious if there was anything that stood out. Nothing specific. It was good. It's very good.
Yeah.
Good pod.
So if you're looking for something to read and study into, the Beatitudes are quite fun.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
On Thursdays, we didn't even go through this, like the second phrase of each Beatitude.
Yeah.
We just went through the blessed are those who mourn. We didn't go through for they shall be comforted. So that's fun.
Yep. So it's good times.
Nice.
Good times.
Nice. Shop Podcast. Season 3, episode 2. It's done. Unless you have more that you want to talk about.
No, I'm going to clean off my lens here real quick. My lens brush.
You cleaned it off at the end of the podcast?
Yeah, I just realized that it was dirty. But it's on my phone, so it's probably just pocket lint.
It's disappointing.
A little linty.
Hope you guys are doing well. Whenever we can see the time as close as we can, I know we could see the time previously, but something about this setup is like we get to the point and get it done quicker. Maybe people enjoy that. I know I used to get reviews that people would skip through the silliness at the beginning, and this podcast really celebrates those people.
Yeah.
This episode.
I wish we could disable that function.
If you're going to listen to this, you're listening to all of it.
The whole thing.
You're not allowed to pause it. You're not allowed to turn your phone down.
No.
It hacks everything about your phone.
Yeah.
It's like you're listening.
Yeah. Like if you play it in your car, it's going to keep going.
You're not allowed to kill your car.
No, you're at the drive-thru and it's just blasting.
You're trying to order a cheeseburger and it's like, stop being happy. Start crying.
Yeah. It'll be the best.
That's what we want. If we see you this week smile, we're going to be like, yeah, you didn't listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Stop being such a happy-go-lucky person. Punch you.
Yeah, to correct that, we do believe joy is a fruit of the Spirit. And if you're not joyful,
that's true too.
We're going to be disappointed in you.
So good luck not
Yeah.
disappointing us.
Yeah, you can't be too happy,
Yeah.
but don't be too sad either.
No. Once we'll know when you're in that sweet spot.
That was good. Daniel series starts, if you're listening to this week. Daniel series starts next week.
Yeah,
This week we have a special.
Yeah, it's possible we just finished the Daniel series.
Yeah. I wonder how long YouTube is going to be in existence. Like, is there a chance that you and I have passed away and there's like a group of people that stumble upon us?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You think YouTube will be around for 80 years?
Yeah. Like well, maybe not in its exact form, but like you can go on YouTube now.
Yeah.
And there's like videos from like not long after videos started happening. You know what I mean? Like you can, there's things really old on YouTube that's like they've been made into a version where you could watch them on YouTube. So like maybe down the road when it's not.
And so these historical videos that you're talking about, they're like, you know what? We should put this clip of whatever president on YouTube. You think they're going to do that with us?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That they're going to come upon our videos and it's like, yeah, this deserves to be on YouTube.
It might even carve a mountain out of us or us into a mountain, whatever it is. You know, just build a mountain after us.
We pass away and they're like, yeah, that body needs to be a mountain.
Yeah, we're gonna build this mountain
out of them.
It's gonna be unique mountain shape.
We
could be our own theme park.
If you built a Mount Rushmore, who would be on it? Like who deserves what four people deserve to be on your Mount Rushmore?
Like including my immediate family, or like you're not including my immediate family?
If they deserve to be on Mount Rushmore, put them there. But if they listen and you don't put them on.
Yeah. Man, I don't know, dude. I'll have to.
That's tough. That may roast people. Let's not do that. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, that's all, like if you want to like disconnect it from necessarily
immediate family,
like people you know. Like you're talking about like whoever made Mount Rushmore, they didn't know those presidents. Oh, they were all dead when they built it, right? Yeah,
I'm not a historian.
Right.
I'm not a history scientist.
When was the Rushmore carved?
I do like that we can fact check in this setup.
Yeah. And
October 4th, 1927.
Oh, yeah. So who, like the presidents that are on Mount
Washington
Rushmore,
was for sure dead.
Washington, Lincoln? Was Lincoln on there? Is Lincoln on there?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's dead. And what was the other one? John Adams? Is that one of them?
I don't know the.
Do you know your Rushmore presidents?
No. Somebody's listening to this and it's just very disappointed.
Is Ben Franklin on there? I know he's not a president. But
no.
Who's on Rushmore?
George.
Okay.
Thomas.
Junior or senior?
Jefferson.
George Washington. Thomas Jefferson.
Did you go George Bush? Is that what you're thinking?
What's the other ones?
Theodore Roosevelt. Abraham Lincoln.
There's only 4 on there, right? There's our 5.
Yeah, there's 4.
So Theodore Roosevelt, when was he around? There's a possibility he could have been there then, because he was like during. I mean, I don't know history stuff like World War One. Is that a World War II?
Somebody's so disappointed in
us. Somebody's like, y'all are idiots. I don't know anything about history or time. I just know that there is a chance that he was still alive. When was the life of Theodore Roosevelt? When was he alive? I know the other 3 weren't there.
He was born in 1858. He died in
yeah.
1919.
Oh, so he was a little bit dead at that point. It hadn't been like a long time dead. You
Right.
said 1927?
1919. Wait,
No, like when they built Rushmore.
I should have left my page up. Sorry. Mount Rushmore built date 1927.
Yeah, so it was like less than a decade after he died.
It began in 1927. It was finished in 1941.
Oh yeah, but still, it wasn't too far off. There could have been a possibility that he could have been alive if he wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
But I guess that's true with anyone.
I've heard of people visiting Mount Rushmore. And if you're planning on it, I'm not trying to influence you or de-influence you. But I've heard it's a thing. Like it's there, and if you're in the area, you might as well see it.
But don't go out of your way.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I bet pictures of it might be cooler than it.
Just Google it.
Yeah. I people may not share my same opinion, but I did visit the Grand Canyon once.
Yeah.
And I was underwhelmed.
I just talked to somebody who visited the Grand Canyon and asked that question, and they really enjoyed it. But they also did other things like in the area, like within like a couple hours drive. So like it was a part of a few days of looking at stuff.
Yeah. I was on a mission trip when we went. Like we took a little detour and said, "Oh, we're gonna go see the Grand Canyon." Yeah. And I was like, "All right, this is a big hole in the ground."
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'd like to hike it.
Yeah, if I got to ride a donkey or something, that might have been more fun for me.
Yeah, you'll fall in
a nice little burrow down the bottom. That might have been
fall in a crevice.
But
Get your arm stuck. Have to saw your own arm off, 27-hour style.
Yep, with a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just like parked at the top and like walked over to the edge and looked down, and it's like, all right,
this is it.
what time's lunch? Getting out of here. So, but anyway, I've seen other things in nature that were cooler for me. I'll say that.
Birds.
Yeah, birds are pretty cool. You know,
All
waterfalls.
right. That's enough. That's enough silliness. We have something to do.
Kind of thing. Well, that's historical.
Yeah, that wasn't silly. That was serious.
Yeah, we were being serious there. So there's that.
There's that.
That is. All right, we're done.
We're done here.
Y'all get out of here. Stop watching us.
We'll catch you cats.
We got stuff to do.
On the flip flop. We're about to go begin preparation for Daniel.
Yep.
Right now. Daniel chapter 1 coming at you on February 13th. So you have
Excited.
little less than 2 weeks to read it. You should have time.
Yeah, I've read it a couple times so far, but I still don't understand it. But we're gonna get there.
We understand half of it.
Yeah, I understand half of it. The second half, don't understand.
That'll be fun. Should be a lot of fun.
I am excited to dig into it and hopefully understand it better.
There's animals with weird shapes and statues with weird animals, and things happen at the end.
There's a lot of things.
You know that it predicts the future so accurately that people are like, yeah, this was written after the fact, and somebody just put Daniel's name on it. Like it is like so precise, so accurate, so detailed about the future that once those things happen, like people found the letter or whatever, rediscovered the letter, and they're like, yeah, there's no way this was written ahead of time, unless of course God inspired it.
How about that?
Yeah. Yep. All right. See you soon. Catch your cats on the flip flop.
You know.
If you need anything, give us a shout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not, we'll see you Thursday.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.